it's very difficult for someone who didn't live through that period to understand that months, not simply years, but months make a difference. What it felt like in January of '68 on a college campus bears precious little relationship to what it felt like in December of '68. You've moved politically and culturally light years from those positions. There is simply that much groping for a new ground on which to build any kind of consensus politically or culturally. And frankly, it never comes. It just continues to spin out of control in that fashion. Imagine you're a student in 1968. You have been told for 4 or 5 years, or have been hearing that there's this just regime in South Vietnam that is being threatened by an aggressive communist neighbor to the north, and that we must intervene to to preserve democracy in Southeast Asia. And increasingly you're getting these disturbing images and information about the lack of democracy in South Vietnam, the corruption. You are hearing that in point of fact we are winning the war, and you can't quite reconcile that with the images of body bags being brought home. We have these wonderful body counts that are reported on the nightly news. Last week, 74 American servicemen died and 117 South Vietnamese soldiers were killed, while 5,000 North Vietnamese were killed. The war is winnable, and then there's the Tet Offensive, and there's North Vietnamese troops in all the major cities in South Vietnam, and this thing don't sound so winnable anymore. And you're looking at your draft card number, and you're wondering when you might go. It's all coming unglued. What was initially just a kind of mop-up operation by the most powerful country in the world to preserve democracy from communist aggression in Southeast Asia seems much, much less clear to you by April 1968, after the Tet Offensive. And there's a deep and abiding suspicion that once again we're being lied to. Remember, and I think this is absolutely critical, it isn't the war itself that generates the criticism. It's that there was already an increasingly radical political or activist counterculture among the young in place that could interpret the events as being critical. I mean, we went through a Korean War and without this level of criticism. The Vietnam War doesn't look that much different, really, than the Korean War. What's different is that there was an activist counterculture in place on college campuses, largely as a result of the civil rights movement. And that generation of activists simply turned their attention to Vietnam and began interpreting events in Vietnam in the same way they had learned to interpret events in the civil rights movement. This was a corrupt, amoral government that must be lying to us. And it goes downhill from there. I remember an uncle at a family reunion saying, "Why are you wearing your hair long? Why do you have to be nonconformist?" And I remember having enough, self-reflection at that time to say, I wear my hair long the same reason you wear it short. I'm conforming to a standard that my peers have created. So on college campuses, to enter college in '68 or '69 means that you will come under some considerable pressure to also be politically active. And there is a bandwagon effect here. It isn't that every individual activist has studied all the issues and has decided they must rebel against their government and their parents and their church. It's that a culture of nonconformity is now in place that you must conform to. And that has to be part of the story, too. It isn't that this generation was as much nonconformist as it was attuned to a nonconformist way of life and simply conformed to it.